Hello, everybody. Welcome to BySci today. Get out your journals. Turn to page 98. Get them out, get them out. Get your desk up there, because you never know what's going to happen, what you're going to want to take notes about, what thoughts are going to come to you. Maybe you'll have the inspiration to do some sort of doodle today. So I bet you're all wondering, who is this lady? Hi. I am the educational coordinator for this class. I'm also leading a lab this semester, and honored to be here talking about the power of story while Jen is at a conference in California developing more journal prompts for all of you for the coming semesters of BySci to continue this work in this course. So we're going to have a wonderful class today talking about how stories influence us personally and collectively. And before we get started, I have a few announcements. So the first, is that we have an extra credit movie that's happening next Wednesday at 7 p.m. in ASI 107, and it's called Merchants of Doubt. It's talking about how corporations use rhetoric to convince us to participate in different actions that might be detrimental to our health and well-being or dissuade us from the truth. So it's a very great extra credit opportunity to go to. And the next one is that there's no class this Thursday. It's a mental health day for all of you to go out and hopefully enjoy nature or catch up on all of the different assignments and things that you have going on as a student at Penn State University. And so, going back to story, the power of story. Through storytellers, the history of culture is handed down from generation to generation. So I want you to think about a great storyteller in your life and write that down on your notes page. Great storyteller that you know. And I want you to greet the person sitting next to you and talk about why that person is such a great storyteller. So feel free to discuss with the person sitting next to you this person and why they're a good storyteller.
A little bit of trouble hearing you.
Okay.
So I'll let you know.
Okay.
So I don't know if people in the back can hear you.
Okay.
But I like your kid.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What did you say?
We're talking about Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Really good at sharing stories.
This past weekend, it's a podcast.
Okay.
We're talking about ourselves. Good at diary with the kid.
Okay. There, Wimpy Kid. How about you all?
I said my grandma.
Grandma? Awesome. Sweet. Good examples. Okay. We're going to come back together. And mics are out. Can you hear me back there? I'm going to speak very loud now because I heard that there was some trouble hearing me. Who wants to share stories? Storytellers, good ones, and why? Come on, everybody. Tuesday. Okay, we got one.
I think my sister's a great storyteller. She has many stories and she really over dramatizes them because she's pretty young, but I think she's pretty good at telling stories.
Nice. Who else said their sibling? Okay, I see a few hands. Awesome. Christian, do you have something to share?
My best friend is a really good storyteller. I feel like he tells characters that I'm not aware of like really well, and I kind of feel like I know them, so it's easier to follow along.
Nice. How many of you said a friend? All right, some more hands. Let's get one more person.
So my answer is a little weird, but this made me think of it. I'm in like the voiceover business, so I know a lot of people who do things like audiobooks and things like that, and they go through all this training to sound interesting and to like pull you in. So I guess my answer would be coworkers or um I don't really know the term for it, but just people who are trained to really convey a story in an interesting way. Like they could tell you about going to the grocery store and make it sound interesting.
Yeah. So people who have been trained in the art of storytelling. And one thing about storytelling is it's changed a lot over the years. And so I included a couple pictures up here of a storyteller in India telling an epic Indian story. And that still takes place a lot in India, a lot of storytelling, story sharing. And then also just the representation of a circle here, I thought was also important because within our labs, we form these circles, and that is the foundation of storytelling. And so telling stories verbally has also shifted throughout time, and now we're using technology to tell more short form stories. So telling stories in a matter of 5 seconds or even less because of the attention it takes away. Telling long stories takes a lot of time. So stories over the ages as well relate to the gods and goddesses and how we viewed our world. So I wanted to include one story, Galileo proving that the sun does not revolve around the earth, but that we, the earth, revolves around the sun. And this story that he proved, it was developed by Copernicus. And then in 1633, when he proposed, and it was confirmed that he was correct in his rendition that the earth revolves around the sun, in 1633, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. So stories hold a lot of power, and some people don't like when questions arise surrounding these stories that shape our world. So new stories can create these revolutions in our own thinking. There's another example that I'm going to include. 200 years earlier, from when Galileo proved that the earth indeed revolves around the sun, Christopher Columbus came to America. And the Pope, Pope Alexander VI, offered a spiritual validation for European conquest, saying that in our times, especially the Catholic faith, should be exalted and be everywhere increased and spread, that the health of souls be cared for, and that barbarous nations be overthrown and brought to the faith itself. So this was a narrative of European Christian purity and supremacy that negated the value of the other and permitted European Christians to assume supremacy and privilege. And the supremacy went like this. Fur trappers, overfishing, logging, and slavery. And it all came from a book that was inspired by God, but written by humans. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, and every other living thing that moveth upon the earth, even our own kind," putting other minority groups below this ideal. And so people saw it very deeply that it was their right to move west and to take out everything that they saw in their path. We'll come back to that. This is a picture of what the United States looked like before colonization. And these were the people that lived here before. About 60 million indigenous people. And 90% of those people died between 1492 and 1900. 90%. Either due to death at the hands of the colonists or due to the viruses that the white men brought with them. And this was their story. The story of Manifest Destiny, that Americans had a virtue-bound duty to tame the West, creating heaven on earth. Now, what about the people that were living here? What about all of these people? They lived within a different story, believing that they belonged to the earth. Going back, this map is the Louisiana Purchase. So the purchase of land. And it was unfathomable to Native Americans that anything bigger than humans could be owned in any way. And so, can you imagine being a Native American and having someone say that this land is owned by someone when you have no concept whatsoever of ownership? It was a completely different story. And so, furthermore, all of the children of the Native Americans were taken and placed in boarding schools leading to a cultural genocide. The motto of the Carlisle Indian School in 1879 was "Kill the Indian to save the man." And Carlisle is about an hour and a half away from here. And there were 519 of these schools in the US. Different iterations of this have been true over many years. Minoritizing women, African Americans, people of other cultures, Asians, Mexicans, many more, minority being minimized, having a lesser role because success was measured when these groups were overpowered. Story shaping our current time. Even in Nazi Germany, it's all connected to this concept of power. And now, culture, the definition is an integrated pattern of human knowledge, belief, and behavior that depends upon the capacity for learning and transmitting knowledge to succeeding generations. Now, I want us to take a breath, because that's a lot. And I want us to come back to this time. Our current story. What is our current story? And I want you to take a minute to talk to the person sitting next to you. What is our current story? If you're not sitting next to somebody, feel free to move over to be able to talk. And then we'll hear from all of you. It's going through your minds. Okay, what's coming up for you?
Not much. Maybe just like I feel like we're going maybe through another cultural genocide. I was thinking about that. You talk about the Native Americans.
Which culture?
Probably, I mean, Jewish, like Islamic, like I feel like a lot of them.
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's bad.
Kind of like a repeating
Yeah.
story, right? And why does that happen?
Yeah. I would say. I feel
Why?
like people, they just vote the same people in who caused the same issues before. So then it's just like, same issues are gonna keep happening if you vote the same people in.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts. I hope maybe you feel comfortable sharing on the microphone. No?
I wouldn't say.
Okay. Thanks, though. Yeah. It's coming up for you.
Think about it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, correct story. It's like it's all integrated. Like first thoughts were like AI, Big Bang, pharma, fiscal policy, governments, how it's connected, intertwined.
Yeah, I think technology is a great thing to bring up. It's part of our current story. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Okay, let's come back together. Microphones are out. What's our current story? Let's come on back. Tension up here. Thank you. All right, let's give the floor to you all. What's the current story?
I think everyone can have like different perspectives, but for me, I think that like evil it recycles. So like for me, I don't necessarily think that the world is any like worse than it used to be, but just in a different form maybe. And I think like in our world today, like everyone, like anyone can hurt anyone, and like that cycles through generation of like through cultures, through everything. Like people are always being oppressed and hurt by other people regardless of who they are, but that's just something that happens throughout history and is happening today and will continue to happen again. And it's devastating, but that's what happens.
Very well said. So you were kind of sharing that no matter what time you're in, the history just continues to repeat itself. And different groups take the pain. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Other components? Where are you?
Yep, I'm right here. I'm right to your left. Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Okay. Yeah. So I said that the current story, I like kind of disagree with her point just only on the fact of I think it kind of is worse. There's a bunch more like natural disasters, of course, and the pollution we know is like still getting worse. We haven't done much about pollution. Um, and then because like I'm thinking very currently, the economy some shit. Oh, excuse my language. The economy really sucks right now, and that kind of like is like a cherry on top for me on like kind of everything that's going on. So I'll say it's kind of not. We're not in the best space we can be in.
What drives our economy, do you think?
Um, in my opinion, power.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So I think honestly you can't really like really define like what is our story currently because there's like so many things in the world that's going on right now that we also like just don't know about, and like it's not getting enough coverage like wherever it may be. Um, but generally, if you do think about it, like the world isn't in a good place right now. Like there's just like so much bad things happening, and I think like every country or whatever, like there is something going on that isn't great. So it's like, yeah, it's just not good, I guess.
I think that's such a great perspective that you're bringing up, that there are so many stories in every single person's life. And then there are the bigger stories. And it's kind of like layers of an onion, kind of like we have our clothes on, and then we have our skin, and then underneath our skin we have our ligaments and our bones. Like there's so many different layers to being, and I think that's such a wonderful thing to bring up, that it's so broad, what's happening. So great point. Absolutely. And I think it is important to kind of zoom out when you're thinking about our story. So I like to think about if we were extraterrestrials that came to Earth, what would we see? Would we see that things are working? What would we observe? And if, yeah, these aliens did come down to the US and observed Americans in a variety of settings: schools, homes, supermarkets, job sites, sporting events, prisons, churches. I think they would see that a lot of Americans spend a lot of time working, and they receive money that they use to buy a whole lot of things. And it's kind of like this cycle of work, earn money, consume. You're happy for a little bit, but then you're always kind of like wanting more. This economism, kind of like what this young man was talking about over here. And we've talked about this in previous classes, that it persists not because it satisfies, but because it structures the desires that we continue to experience. It promises this satisfaction, but you can never fully get there. And so you just have this empty hole. It's like there's never enough. You're never going to have enough. And that's what fuels the cycle, not just for material goods, but also for the things within us, the fears that we have. Capitalism perpetuates on those fears. And so I want to go back to my hypothesis here that I had. The story that our culture has been teaching has created separation, which contributes to the symptoms that we're seeing. The symptoms being the natural disasters, the wildfires, the inequality, the hunger, the war. It's because of this separation. Separation from self, separation from each other, and separation from Earth. So I want to take a moment to also look at this very important piece, which is the inequality within our world. Would you be able to pull up this? So this is the list of the top earning people in our world. So at the very top, yeah, you see Elon Musk, and then with $342 billion, you keep on going down. I mean, these are just numbers. Like, you can't really fully understand what's going on here. So maybe we should pull up this video here. This is wealth inequality. So that's the median US household, 192,000. So let's just pause here. The top 1%, you have to have $13 million, okay? 1% of the world's population. Okay, keep on going. Okay, we're going into 0.1%. That's $1 billion. Everyone see that? Over 5,000 times the amount of the average household. The planes for reference. Okay, let's pause. That's $300 billion. And that's how much Elon Musk has. If Elon Musk gave away only $200 billion, he could give $25 billion to every person that lives on Earth. Would that be the solution to the problems that we're seeing in our world? I want you to talk to your neighbor. Right, lively conversation. Isn't that insane? Like the planes, when I saw this, I was like,
So like this.
beyond. Like, it's insane. And that's one person. Like, also, Mark Zuckerberg has $200 billion as well. It's insane. Okay, let's come back together. I want to hear from some of you. If Elon Musk gave $25 billion to every person on Earth, would it solve our problems? We have somebody over here.
So the sentiment is great, but if everyone had $25 million, like let's just say in the US, for example, that would crash the economy because everyone would have more money to spend, therefore everyone would be able to afford more, therefore the price of things in general would go up to an insane degree, and then our currency wouldn't be worth as much, and it would just kind of eventually we'd be back where we started. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing about that is the 300 billion is not in like liquid cash, so he couldn't just give out that much. It's net worth, so that's like Tesla is part of that. So if he were to do that, his companies wouldn't exist anymore. There wouldn't be Tesla cars. It's not really as simple as you're putting it, but the sentiment is great. Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, everything's kind of wrapped up in things. It's a really, really great point.
We talked about how like if you just give that money away, like some people just might spend it and just don't spend until it's gone. And we talked about like maybe like it would be better if you put systems in place to help people make that money for themselves. And like the whole like if you like give a man to fish, he'll eat for a day, like teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime kind of vibes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I had like the same thought where it's like if you were to give $25 million to everybody, then nobody would have $25 million. It's like basically giving everybody monopoly money at that point. It would crash everything and it would end up doing more harm than good. However, if you funnel that money into like social services for everybody, stuff that would help aid everybody as like a community aid, then it would ultimately make everybody better, even if the people who get the $25 million and don't need it, they'll still benefit from something like that as well. Just bettering the entirety of society.
Okay, so we're hearing a little bit about how money is tied up in assets, and so it's difficult to be able to get that out and spread it out. Also hearing that giving everybody that amount of money evens the playing field and people will just spend it all right away and it won't really make a difference. We have one more comment.
I think that if everybody was like kind of like equal money wise, it would just make like everything go higher. Like the prices of everything else would just go higher and stuff. But I don't know where I'm trying to go with this, but I think it could be like beneficial if you gave people like at least $100, but I don't know about 25 billion because it would just make people like stop working and other things would shut down and yeah, just wouldn't be the best.
It would disrupt the systems that we have for sure. We have one more.
Sorry. Yeah, and just like kind of piggybacking like over that, I generally feel like even if Like he did have that in his account to give to people. Like I don't think, because if I was in that position, I'm definitely not giving everybody in the world 25 mil, right? Like I just personally feel like this may generally sound crazy, but like there's always been like levels to like economy. So if you kind of just do it all at once where everybody is at the same economic level all at once, that's gonna, like somebody said, it'll cause a big crash and it's just gonna cause a lot more issues because then everybody will think, okay, yeah, like money will solve the issue, but that doesn't take into account that not everybody will use this money to do something beneficial for the world. Some people will generally just take it and just literally only keep it for themselves. So it's just like at the end of the day, if you put everybody on the same economic level, not everybody will do the same thing with the money. So just be like you're giving away money to people.
Great point. Yeah. And so I think this is an important thing to realize as you look at inequality, the ethical parts of this, that it's not just giving everybody equal amount, but how do we work within the system that we have to be able to find new systems that might help this problem in a more streamlined way. But that's crazy. I mean, it's just really wild how much wealth some people have. And that's just Elon Musk, by the way. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg as well has about almost $300 billion as well. So we can go back to the slides. And so you've probably seen this slide a few times, that a lot of things we're seeing are symptoms. We're seeing the symptoms of our world. These are all modern images of things that were in the New York Times this past week, things that are happening. But I think we also shouldn't just look at the things that are happening in our climate, but also these things are also symptoms of the systems that we have. Within economism, these are all the billionaires and the gentrification that's happening due to the uneven distribution of wealth, the shopping addictions that people have, where our tax money is going, and the temptations of shopping all contribute to the problems that we're seeing within our world and this separation that we have from the natural world based on where we find ourselves in the socioeconomic ladder. So, again, I want us to take a breath together. Breathing in and breathing out. I think the main thing that I want you all to realize from this is that no matter how much you have in the world, it doesn't separate you from the fact that you're a human being. And no matter of wealth that anyone has can put them above anybody in this room or anybody that you see on the street. We're all humans. And we're all doing the best we can with the circumstances that we have. And all the billionaires as well, they're doing the best that they can with what they've been given. And I think that's an important thing to realize and help give us courage as we move in to part 3 of the class. We get to choose our story. We can look at the world from a place of scarcity, and that can fuel our fear to want to amass a bunch of wealth and a bunch of resources and save them for ourselves. Or we can trust that we have the things that we need, and we don't need to live in this mindset of scarcity. Because when we live in scarcity, it creates more competition, fear, greed, blame, war, and soullessness. But when we try as hard as we can to see the world as abundant, that there's enough for everyone, that there's possibilities for every person, then we can collaborate with each other, we can trust each other, we can share more of ourselves with our time and also the resources that we have. And we can create more peace and more soul within ourselves. And so I want to share a poem with all of you to close things out. We're not going to do that one, but I'm going to pull it out of my bag here. It's called The New National Anthem by the Poet Laureate of the United States, Ada Limon. And she's written a few books, but this is one of my favorites. So don't pack up. I want you to just sit in this space for a few more minutes and know that this present moment is all that we have. So a new national anthem. The truth is, I never cared for the national anthem. If you think about it, it's not a good song. It's too high for most of us, with the rocket's red glare. And then there are bombs. Always, always there is war and bombs. Once I sang it at a homecoming and threw even the tenacious high school band off key. But the song didn't mean anything. It's just a call to the field, something to get through before the pummeling of youth. And what of the stanzas we never sing? The third that mentions no refuge could save the hireling and the slave. Perhaps the truth is every song in this country has an unsung third stanza, something brutal snaking underneath us as we absent-mindedly sing the high notes with a beer sloshing in the stands, hoping our team wins. Don't get me wrong, I do like the flag, how it undulates in the wind like water, elemental, and best when it's humbled, brought to its knees, clung to by someone who has lost everything. When it's not a weapon, when it flickers, when it holds up so perfectly you can keep it until it's needed, until you can love it again, until the song in your mouth feels like sustenance, a song where the notes are sung by even the ageless woods, the short grass plains, the Red River Gorge, the fistful of land left unpoisoned. That song, that's our birthright, that's sung in silence when it's too hard to go on. That sounds like someone's rough fingers weaving into another's. That sounds like a match being lit in an endless cave. The song that says, my bones are your bones, and your bones are my bones. And isn't that enough? Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.